Okay. Um, you know what? Hold on. I wanna I just wanna check about what I said I was gonna interview you about. Communication. Oh yeah, okay. All right. That's pretty much it. Okay. Well, we can start where we started this morning. I think one of the reasons why I wanted to interview you was this thing that you said a while ago when I was telling you about this person whose mother was afraid that the like parents at the school that she worked at would find out that she and her husband had opened up their relationship and that she'd get fired and stuff and it would like ruin her life.
Which is like a crazy thing for your mom to be worrying about in
Yeah.
the first place. You know, it's not like you don't have your own anxiety about it.
Yeah, of course. Right.
Your mom comes in and you're like, what the.
I know, like that's helpful when your mom is just like, well, I'm concerned.
That's what we do.
I know, they worry.
Turn that AC fan off.
Oh yeah.
Take two.
Yes.
Answers to the questions about your questions.
Should we start over? Okay, that was a good idea.
You want to reset all the recordings?
We could. Yeah, I guess.
Wait for that to cycle down.
No.
Oh yeah, this is cool sound.
What is it?
It's the light outside of the studio.
Really?
Outside of the stage.
Oh, I could do some really good stuff with that.
Yeah, it's a cool sound.
You know what's on here?
It's a fan. Yeah, I think I have it. Maybe not. What's this? I don't know. UDP.
I know.
Oh.
Oh.
What's this?
Just
How high was I on October 24th, 2023? It was not long ago.
no. Okay, ready?
Shoot, dog. I guess I gotta be.
Um. Okay. One of the main reasons why I wanted to interview you for this book was because of your reaction to the story I told you about someone my mom knows whose mother is concerned that she's going to get fired if the parents at the school she works at find out that she and her husband have opened up their relationship. And when I told you about it, I don't remember exactly what you said, but it was like, if people want to get upset about that, like whatever, because you've put so much work in, like it takes so much work to be able to be polyamorous in an open relationship, whatever, and to like be able to communicate that way or the necessary way. And I was really struck by that, and I was wondering what the work is that you put in.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to have a sense of resiliency that comes from like confidence, because there's this I think perspective that polyamory, and not widely spread, but polyamory in some senses is like an easy out of like, oh, you want to do something, and so you can go ahead and act on that desire. But once you start looking past like the very initial layer of like you're just acting on desire, it starts to get really complicated really fast. And I think that that's like the thing that most people say when they talk to me is, like, oh, that's crazy. Why would you do that? Why would you want to do that? But it's a journey with your partner. It's something that you have to put time and work into figuring out what feels good for everybody involved. A lot of it revolves around the unique boundaries that each person needs to feel safe, and to feel respected and in integrity with themselves and in integrity with the relationship. Um, I feel like there's this concept of infidelity or this concept of cheating that's very heteronormative and in line with compulsory monogamy, because I don't honestly think that like the carnal act of sex or like the physical act of like sleeping with another person is really what like pisses your partner off or makes them feel hurt or disrespected. I think it's a unique set of needs that are not being met in this moment. And maybe those unique set of needs for an individual are like, I can't share your body with anybody else, but I often think it's something much more than that. Like the physical act is like a secondary and tertiary pain, right? And maybe something that like leaves a bitter taste in your mouth, but I think it's because it's a reminder of like what you're really feeling.
Yeah, I think it's like that a promise was made and then broken.
Yeah.
And like if different promises have been made, then it's not a broken promise if you sleep with someone else. But I also think that a lot of people have a view of polyamory that it's like about sex, that people
Yeah.
just want to be able to have sex with whoever they want. And I don't know anybody who is polyamorous for the sex. Really, I don't.
Yeah.
Like everyone in my life who's poly is like, trying to have long lasting relationships and let their relationships change. And they're trying to have like more connection and more love and not have to get all their needs met by one person, not put that pressure on somebody. They're looking for various kinds of autonomy.
Mhm.
I mean, for me, it's like I'm not willing to lie to a partner or to myself about whether or not I have feelings for somebody or am attracted to somebody or have a crush. And there's so much not in all monogamy. Like I know that a lot of people in monogamous relationships can, agree with their partner that they can like talk about crushing on people or being attracted to other people. But I've been in a relationship where that was like absolutely not allowed.
Or even if it's allowed, they won't. People like
Yeah.
they're like, I don't want to start that fight. And I think it's that deceit that really sets up, the fall, because it's like you're like, you stop with that person, I didn't even know you had feelings for them, or like you told me you did it.
Right. Yeah, I've seen so much betrayal come out of someone, a partner being like, it seems like you kind of have a crush on that friend, and they're like, no, I don't think of them that way. And then they want to act on it, and there's this sense of betrayal.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what kind of work you've put in? Like, did you read books?
Totally.
Did you like?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing that, well, I mean, to back it all up, I had a partner who, we were starting to get more serious in our relationship. And I was pretty young. I was like 19. And we kind of had a conversation of like, which is like, if you want to be in a monogamous relationship, like I would do that for you. And I just had like pretty instant clarity where I was like, that's not what I want at all, and I think I just knew like on a level was like, that's not the kind of relationship I want. Like that's not the kind of like life I want to live. And so like moving forward in my own life, I found how to deal with the challenges of like being able to see other people, like how to find compersion with my partner, and like to find people who have compersion for me in other relationships, right? Like these are all like different sort of learning experiences that I've worked through. Like you can't make a monogamous person polyamorous. I do feel like it's a spectrum, there's people who just feel a certain way, like monogamy works for them, and that's awesome. It's just like any other spectrum that we have in this budding world of increased sexual boundaries, I don't know, orientations. But like the work that I've done, I think, yeah, it starts with that feeling of jealousy, that feeling of like, I don't know, this like raw kind of like anger and sensation of like shame and guilt that's like all tied around thinking of your partner being with somebody else. um Being someone who's bisexual, I was dating a bisexual, something that I felt was like, okay, well, you can date other girls, but I don't want you to see you dating other guys. And I feel like that's
So
one, a
common.
binary thing, but it's pretty common, right? And it's like, okay, well, where's that coming from? What's going on? You're like, this is where I pee, like what's going on there? So I think, you got to peel it back and be like, what am I feeling? Like, why do I feel that like territorial? Like, what's been instilled in me by culture? Like, what's been taught to me? What do I actually feel? I think it's a little bit of unlearning, and it's a little bit of finding like where your comfort level is, because maybe that is your boundary. I would challenge it, but maybe that's what you feel, and like that's fine. That's yeah, it's more than fine. That's great. Like whatever makes you happy ultimately in a relationship. But it was the unlearning and the challenging of my own feelings of like, why do I feel this way? Um, and I think the biggest thing for me was realizing that the unknown is so much worse than like the known fact. So it's like when you don't know who this other person is, or you've never talked to them, or you don't know what the dynamic is between your partner and this newcomer. There's a lot of like fear and anxiety that like things could be better with them, like things could be deeper, like like maybe you're worried about NRE and your partner and like them getting taken away with that. Totally real fear. Um, but it's ultimately like when you meet the person, you're like, oh, this is a flawed individual who is just as much a human as I am. And there's a moment of understanding. Maybe you're like, I can see why my partner thinks this person's hot. And like I can see why my partner wants to like, go out with this person, or, have sex with this person. Um, and I think that makes working through your own emotions and your own like ickiness so much easier. It's a fallacy. Like, some people, I've known relationships that have worked for a while, known of relationships that say they work, with the sort of don't ask, don't tell policy. But for me personally, like I've always been like, I want to be in the closest circle, like I want to know before anybody else. As soon as like, you have feelings for somebody, or like, you want to sleep with somebody, like I want to know, I want to talk to you about it. Like, it's not just like a reporting for duty thing though, right? It's like, I want to gab, I want to gossip, tea. Um, and like, that's how I feel about it. And other people might feel differently. But yeah, I think that was like the majority of like the legwork that I did to sort of get off the ground of being like, okay, like how can I be an ethically non-monogamous slut? Like how can I get there? And working through jealousy, working through that, like, why don't I want this, but I want this, I'm okay with that, to like try and find a true sense of conversion.
you're really good at asking questions that might be scary to get the answer to, and
Scary questions.
yeah, I'm not always very good at that. I think I'm like afraid to jump off a cliff or something. Jealousy I've often thought is like,
Afraid of heights.
yeah. Jealousy to me has always been like a feeling, I call it like a flag feeling, where it's like, look under here. Like it's not a feeling in and of itself. It's like there's usually something else going on, whether it's insecurity or a fear, anxiety. So I don't really think of it as like its own feeling. And I think a lot.
Is any feeling its own feeling? Interesting
Well,
question.
I don't think that many other feelings are like removed from the actual feeling like that. Like jealousy, I think, is kind of like a protective layer over something that maybe you don't want to know or like don't want to look at. And I also think that it's not something like, I think there's sort of this myth that people who are polyamorous just like don't experience jealousy, and it's just like gonna be farther from the truth. But something that I've really come to with jealousy is like, jealousy isn't a problem. It's a problem if you try to let it justify controlling somebody else. Like if I decide that it's a feeling that I need to stop immediately, and the only way for it to stop immediately is for your behavior to change.
Ostrich behavior. I mean, I think it's true of anything. It's like, it's true of anger, right? Like you can't just be like, I'm just gonna walk away from this because it makes me angry. I'm like, okay, well, like, yeah, I mean, I might walk that back, but it's
Because
like,
I did that last night.
no. I was just because like sometimes I'm like, yeah, you're angry, you should go for a walk.
Yeah.
And like
sometimes with distance.
I guess I don't mean like literally walking away, but more of like, you can't just like decide that it doesn't matter because it made you angry, because it made you jealous, right? It's like you have to unpack it. And I think that that's, the flag thing of what you're saying. It's like, it's difficult to see your emotions peaking and to feel your emotions peaking and then realize like it's not the end of the road. It's not a turnaround moment. It's like okay, like I thought I was going this direction. Now I have to like peel off and like really see what's going on here. Like, why am I feeling this way? And honestly, like a lot of the times the answers are really not satisfying.
Yeah. There's like nothing you can do about it, and part of it I think is learning like the arc of your own emotions too. Being like, I know that I'm upset about this right now, and I likely won't be in an hour, or I won't be in the morning, or like in the past I've felt this way, and then we had a couple days of feeling distant, and then we were fine. Like that builds confidence too.
And I mean, I think it's also like, and this goes hand in hand with polyamory, but I think it's a level of emotional intelligence that everybody has to work on at some point in their life, or should,
or
I think most people do.
Could.
But it's like you're going to have to feel bad about things, right? Like that's just life. And then like, can you remove your emotional reaction from the result you want? Can those be two separate things? Like, are you able to say, okay, this is how I want to feel, this is what I want to do, this is what's currently happening, and this is how it's making me feel? Are those two things reconcilable?
And I think a lot of the time it's like not, it's there's like, I'm split into parts, and I'm like deeply ambivalent, and there's like many different parts of me that are experiencing different things at different times, or at the same time.
You gotta call each emotion into the room.
Yeah.
Be like, what are you doing? All right, you got 100% of my attention right now, what's going on? And then you can send it away and like pull in the next one, right?
Yeah, or like have them talk to each other, because often I'm like, having very conflicting feelings, I mean, one of the things that I would have been very surprised by is that I mean, I don't really get jealous about sex. I think I'm coming to learn that I'm sort of living in a different paradigm than most people around sex. I have friends who have sex for their job.
It's not
you
about
know.
sex.
Well, it's not about sex, but I think also like jealousy around sex is learned, and I work with so many people and I'm like close friends with so many people who are having sex for their job with people who they then are friends with and like don't date or maybe date or whatever. And it's not really the sex that bothers me. One of the things that has surprised me a lot recently is that like a lot of my jealousy is not even about like the people that you're hanging out with. It's like that you have a much easier time dating than I do, in large part because of like illness stuff. Like I don't have the social bandwidth that you have. I don't have the energy that you have, and I can't really just date. Like I really have like specific things that are non-negotiable for me around like my health and stuff, and it makes dating very complicated.
It's gonna be like, yeah, I can date Republicans.
I mean,
That's a joke.
you can date people who
Just kidding. Anybody could get it.
don't care about like dietary restrictions, or like that I'm experiencing like really serious upheaval in my body on a particular day, or like can't use my pronouns, or like I have special needs. I do. And it comes up a lot around dating. It makes me feel, like a burden. I like don't know when to disclose these things to people. And I often like don't want to go out and like do things that a lot of other people want to do. And I don't really drink. And it's like um it's just not it's just challenging.
Well, I mean, I think, sure. Your dating pool is restricted, but I don't think that it's small by any means, especially in
I don't
LA.
either.
I think a bigger part of it, and this is kind of tangential to what you're saying about how you're feeling jealousy, a bigger part of it is you have like such a strong friendship community of friends, and like I think that's what takes up most of your time outside of
Yeah.
like our relationship and outside of your work life. It's like you pour a lot of time and energy into that. I think you have like 15 close friends.
I know. I do.
I have like 4.
Yeah, like over a decade long.
Hi, Brooke, Dana, Susan.
I think we're gonna watch this.
So very good. We're my close friends.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with you. And I think that a lot of times the way that polyamory like manifests in my life is that I have a lot of friendships that like a very strictly monogamous partner might be uncomfortable with.
Totally. Oh my God. Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, like sharing a bed with certain friends, or like, being physically affectionate with certain friends, or that I've kissed certain friends or had sex with certain friends.
Yeah. I mean, I know how people feel like it's a slippery slope and it scales up. But I would say, like, I challenge you, if you're like, I don't care if you hold hands with that person, but making out with them is where I draw the line. That's fine if you feel that way, but I would just ask you to understand why. Because I think more often than not, the more you peel that back, it might be because there's this deeply territorial and like sort of conquest related narrative that's been attached to relationships, and that's because of like where marriage comes from, of like buying a piece of property, right?
Yeah.
And it's like Mr. and Mrs. Da 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 is super cute until you start to like go back down the line. And I don't think that means, it doesn't have a place in our culture, or it hasn't become something so prominent that it's, it's greater than the sum of its parts, right? Like, I mean, my grandparents have a lovely monogamous relationship, and they are totally Mr. and Mrs. David Solomon. Love my grandparents, and they're very Catholic, and they have such a deep relationship that's like so loving and really works for them. And same thing with my parents. And I don't think either of them could ever be in a monogamous relationship.
You mean a polyamorous?
Sorry, a polyamorous relationship. And I think that's who they are. And I think that is divorced from, I know it's a funny word to use. I think that's removed from the functionality of like, could a polycule work in any given situation?
Well, where my mind is going is that like so many people we know in monogamous relationships are basically in polycules without like the sex or romance.
Tell me more.
Well, like, they have godparents for their kids, or they have like aunts and uncles, or they have their ex, who's very, very close. And it's like, it's this web, this network of intimate relationships with like varying degrees of closeness. Where maybe they don't have the like an active romantic or sexual relationship with more than one person, but aside from that, it's very much this similar web.
Yeah, I mean, I think what makes a relationship then polyamorous is an interesting question. Is it just the label you put on it, right? Like, what is a polyamorous relationship between like a web of adults?
Right, and also how do you differentiate between different kinds of love?
I mean, I think it's clear and distinct to every individual person, but putting it into theory is a little harder to nail down, right? But like, I can imagine if I were to like go into people that I know well into their headspace and be like, okay, how do they see these relationships? I'm like, they definitely don't see it as polyamorous.
Totally, no, they don't. But then a lot of monogamous people like will have threesomes or go to sex parties, or
it's not really monogamous.
I know.
That's kind of like when you like get head from that guy in high school and then you're like, but I'm not gay. It's the same energy. Because I didn't suck a dick. It's like, no, you're a little gay, man. And that's cool too. And I think, it's like, it's sort of destigmatizing poly. I think swinger culture has unfortunately done some damage of this like immature sort of, I don't know. I think about the episode in High Maintenance, where there's all those couples and they're like all having sex, and then like one of them like slept outside of the sex party and they got gonorrhea, and so it's sort of this like, that's the joke. It's a great episode. But it's kind of this like, I don't know. It doesn't seem to get that deep, and it like, sex is a lot of fun, and doing sex with other people is a lot of fun.
Doing sex
with other people, having the sex with other
Do you
people.
want to do some sex with me? I do ask you if you want to do sex to me.
Yeah, but I think it's you're bug man. I think it's like, it's kind of got this, it's created this perception that you can sort of dip in, dip out. And I mean, I think you can, but that doesn't change who you are, right? Like, there's like very much the sensation of being like, no, I'm not gay. Like that, I do not want like to touch that person's lips. Like, I do not want any of that. That does not feel good for me. That does not feel right. And like, while I can understand that perspective, I can see it. And it's like, I think that's the same thing of being like, I could not go to a sex party. I do not want to share my partner with anybody else. I do not want to sleep with anybody else. Like, this is not something that functions for me at all. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of rambling here. Probably cut around this. But I like, I guess I'm trying to say like, like this sort of swinger culture and sex party culture has.
I don't want to knock anyone else's
Yeah.
yuck anyone else's yum.
No, I think it's more of just people who are seeing that. Yeah,
Well, I
no,
mean, that interestingly is about sex,
yeah, take me out
you
of this.
know, and okay. Um, I mean, that, one of the things that occurs to me so often when someone thinks that poly is like a way that you can just cheat. I mean, I heard Stephen Colbert say that, like, people say that. And one of the things that immediately comes to mind is like, this is way too hard and complicated to just be about the sex.
Hmm.
Like, if I just wanted to have sex with other people, I I don't think I would be willing to put in the work to like learn how to communicate the way that's necessary in order to do this. And like one of the things that when I first opened up my relationship with my long-term ex like over 10 years ago, one of the most surprising things about it to me was that all of a sudden when someone was interested in me and there was an opportunity, I couldn't just say, or it wasn't honest for me to say, I can't, I have a boyfriend. I had to actually ask myself,
If you wanted
do
it.
I want to do this? And that was like, that was huge because sometimes the answer was no. And then I had to be honest instead of like using this relationship as kind of a easy like eject button.
That's so funny because I feel like the flip side of it is like, guys being like, "Ah, yeah, she said she got a boyfriend, but like I don't know if I believe her or not." And it's like, well, it doesn't really matter, right? She's using it
She's
as an
saying she doesn't
excuse, but
want
she doesn't want
it.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, that was really eye-opening for me. Just the whole idea of like having this kind of relationship structure allows me and kind of forces me to like actually be in touch with what I want and don't want, and then like speak up about it, ask for what I want, or say that I don't want something. And that became really important to me. It became a way to like learn a lot about myself. And, I learn a lot about myself through relationships and,
Mhm.
with different people as a mirror, like a
Yeah,
chosen mirror,
that
and
part.
not wanting to stop that kind of exploration. And also like no one person is going to have sex with you in all the ways that you're like curious about.
I mean,
It's
just
just not
beyond
possible.
sex, like walking it back to what you said about, relationships as a way to learn. It's like there's no better way to learn about yourself in, a relationship that you've been a part of for 5, 6 years than like to go date somebody else and see how things that you do that like, you're like, oh, that is a really shitty thing that I do. It's like
You see
you're
your own
yeah,
patterns.
your
Yeah.
habits and your things that you're comfortable with, like all of a sudden you have to like explain to like a brand new person.
Right, right. Well, and if you start getting the same feedback again and again, you have to be like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
like I'm
Or,
not.
you start to occupy a role that your partner normally does, right? It's like if you're
Mhm.
with somebody else and it's like all of
Right.
a sudden you're doing something new and you reach a greater appreciation for the other people in your life that you're dating, you know. So it's yeah, I mean, I think relationships are a tool to better understand yourself, to better understand your relationships with other people. I mean, I think part of like the reason why I feel strongly about polyamory is and like, being poly is that it's like one of the best ways you can better yourself and you can learn about yourself is like to continue like loving and receiving love from other people, you know.
Yeah, that's really I have a hard pivot. How did you how did you learn to make consent hot?
How did I learn to make consent hot?
Yeah. Because
Consent is hot. I mean, it's like there's all of these taboo things, these things that you don't want to talk about, these questions you're afraid to ask. And then when someone like broaches it for you, I mean, it's kind of like getting like pushed through a dark alley. It's like it's not something that you like
is
necessarily
that
like.
hot,
I mean, for
you
some
think?
people,
Yeah.
it's like, like you're kind of being like led through, I guess it depends on the dark alley, you know. But yeah, it's just coming back to the taboo thing. Like it's you're asking questions of things that are like normally you're not allowed to talk about. So as the receiver of the question, if someone's like, "Can I do this to you? Can I move you this way?" It's like it it opens up this one. this possibility that you didn't think was possible, and then two, or you never considered, and then two, it also like prepares you for what's going to happen, and that creates
Yeah.
anticipation, and I think anticipation is
Also
a huge part of sex.
hearing what you want
Yeah,
is really cool.
yeah, I think that gets into sort of like, sub and dom dynamics that people miss, very vanilla relationships, love them. Miss is like, part of it is about desire and sharing desire, and like who's sort of leading that conversation and who's setting the boundaries of it, right? So it's like if you can ask like, hey, here's something I want to do, and then someone's like, no, well, the person doing is the person being controlled, in a sense, right? It's like I think that's kind of where you like miss dom and sub, because it's like you just get to do whatever you want. It's like,
It's obviously
no,
not.
you can ask for whatever you want.
Right. But you also have to trust the other person to tell you no.
Yeah. And I think that's like, and then the sub side of it's like, do you want to ask?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, make requests. But
Well, you could say no, right? Like I want to be asked, I want to be propositions.
yeah,
Like I think that's like part of like a sub dynamic. It's like I want you to ask me that question.
right. There's a lot of creativity in it, I think. Like sometimes you ask if I want to do something, or if I want you to do something, or if you can do something, and I'm like, whoa, I never would have thought of that. That's really cool. Just like, because then I learned something new that I like,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned something new that I can offer you that you like.
I'm just like you imagining like we're having sex and you're like, that's fucking cool, dude.
All the time. All the time. Really. Also, there's like, well, yeah.
Good dude.
Like I'm battling, like I think my parents are gonna read this book, but no, it's not just that you ask, can I do this? You make me say things to you that unless I were willing to lie, I have to know, do I want that or not? Like I have to ask myself if I want that, and then sometimes you make me say it 3 times, and then I'm like, I have to really want this or I'm lying.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know, I guess my mind kind of goes in a couple directions, but first of all, it's like, first of all,
a lot of my work is breaking this stuff down so that it's like teachable and digestible, and I don't expect you to like be able to like reverse engineer how you got
no,
there.
no, not at all. The thing is, like, I got kind of distracted by how, people fake orgasms.
Yeah.
I started going down a bit of a rabbit hole with that in my head. You know how, and I think it's like a very immature and young thing to do in sex, because it's like this.
Well, certainly with a long-term partner.
Well, even like the first time you have sex with somebody,
yeah,
are you gonna fake an orgasm because you think that that's what?
Well, you don't have sex with strangers. Sometimes you're like,
I'm talking about like the very first time you've ever had sex. I'm talking about like like when you're, I don't know, high school, college, whatever you're doing, 40. The first time you're having sex with somebody, it's like it's really difficult to be authentic to yourself, and if you're like nervous or you're not able to reach climax, like that doesn't invalidate the sexual experience, and like
it doesn't even mean that you didn't like it.
Yeah, exactly. So not saying that orgasms are overrated, because they're not, but I just think it's I don't know, coming back to like authentically really wanting something. That's sort of where it's sad there's a disconnect in sex. I think asking the question brings somebody more into authenticity with themselves. And because like if you're doing something to somebody and then you're asking like, can I take this to another level? And they're like, no, I actually don't like what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Like that's great information for both people.
Yes, it is, right.
And it's hard to bring up like when you're the receiver.
Well, and I think a lot of people then are afraid to hear the answer to that question, and they don't ask. They're afraid to find out that what they've been doing has not been enjoyed.
And I think that's where I would challenge you if you're doing something to somebody to be prepared for a no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they take it personally, or it like ends the whole thing,
and that's a difficult line to walk. Like it's really tough to know, and like it's it's difficult to always be asking, especially when you start to get caught up in like what you're feeling. Because sex feels amazing, you know,
Right.
and that's tough.
It can be intoxicating.
Yeah.
How did you like find that way of talking? Like, did you learn it somewhere
Did I learn
to like during sex?
talk to people?
I mean, the way that you do, like, tell me this, or like,
Mm,
can I do this, or I want to do it,
I
whatever.
think it's just like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe everybody doesn't feel this way, but you want to do something, right? Or like you want to.
But was it like did did someone do that for you and that's how you learned it, or did you see it somewhere?
No, I mean, I think if anything, like it's what I'm more of like I'm getting at is like you have this feeling of like, oh, like I want to ask if I can do this, but I'm not sure if I can or not. And then you have like one of two options. You can either do it without asking, or you can not do it. You know, like if you're not going to ask the question,
Right.
right? Then the third option would be to ask the question and then be prepared for either answer. But like with those first two options, I feel like I've learned enough, you know, both of like not asking the question and doing it, and then asking the question, or sorry, and then not asking the question and not doing it. That I realized like that's not where I want to exist. That's not what makes me comfortable. That's not what ultimately I think leads to a positive sexual experience. You know, and like for me or the other persons.
Right. But you
People's
must know that like most people aren't talking the
during
way
sex.
that you are,
No,
or
I'm a
as
very
much
special person
as
to have
what
sex with.
I know. That's why I'm with you.
Um,
But like I'm saying you must know that because I can't imagine that everyone that you've ever slept with is doing it as much as you are.
well, one person needs to be asking the question.
That's not true.
One person needs to be answering questions.
Yes.
I guess.
I just wrote a piece in this book this morning about how like it's a shared responsibility. And if you decide that that consent is someone else's responsibility, you're giving up a lot of autonomy.
I think that's true.
Ultimately like dangerous for the other person.
I think that's getting into an arena of theory and practice though. You know, of like theoretically, I think that's how everybody should act. In practice, not everybody does.
Yeah.
And there's
But you'll
still a
live it.
lot of really good sex that
Totally.
happens. And there's
Yeah.
still like a lot of consent that's made. And it is unfortunately put in practice a lot of the times on one person to like
Yeah.
monitor all of consent. And like that's
A lot of people are relying a lot more on nonverbal.
yeah, or just like or they freeze, right?
Yeah.
And that's a tough truth, and that's a reality. But like in practice, yeah, everybody should have a shared responsibility for consent and for like making sure that like they're feeling safe. I think it's tough though. Like, how do you know if you're feeling safe? Like when you're getting fucking pounded, right?
Yeah.
Like you're like, am I, what do I do? You know, like that's a tough spot to be in. So I do think there is an onus on like whoever is acting in the sexual experience to just like really confirm that consent, you know,
Yeah.
and to like to be asking the questions. I think that's again like where you sort of get into the dom and sub dynamics, you know.
Yeah.
It's a responsibility you're taking on, and that's why people enjoy or don't enjoy that position.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting that like I feel like we should wrap up, but
Why? Because we've been talking for 40 minutes.
yeah.
Okay, you could cut it, right?
Yeah.
You're just gonna not edit this, just like
Yeah.
full. Ugh, great.
Yeah, this is a great example of doing it properly or getting it done.
No half measures. Full measures only.
I'm just thinking, like a lot of what I've learned from illness is how to listen to my body. And I know that many people really struggle with that. But one of the most like beautiful things that I've seen, what?
Just like, thanks, illness. You really made me listen to my body.
I really feel that way.
Yeah, it's a great silver lining.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, the only way to feel grateful or appreciative for a lot of it, or you could write a musical about your vacation.
October 5th at the Elysian.
Really,
Come see Squirm.
Yeah.
It's a musical. It's a true story.
it's how fun.
A worm.
No, I'm thinking about like the way that, and you know, I've said this to you in various forms, but like that I'm often surprised by new things that my body is able to do because of trust and safety.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if this is too personal, but I feel like novelty and surprises in general are something that like take a second for your physical and mental like homeostasis to react and recover to, you know. I mean, and I wonder how much of that is tied to nature and nurture for you, of just being burned so fucking bad by new things. Right? Yeah, I don't know. You have any other questions for me? Any other things you want to like talk about? Anything that you want to come back to or have me revolve around? Look at that. See, questions.
Yeah,
Dictation.
great questions. I mean, I think we've covered everything that I wanted to cover. I think if we were to keep going, I would go into like real specifics about sex and you know, I'm
That's
like,
for the erotica subsect.
right. I'm like, am I ready to do that?
You want to talk about rocks?
Rocks?
Yeah.
Because I love rocks.
One time when we were in Portland, Mia was really excited about this rock that they had in their pocket, and we were like in a room of like, I don't know, 9
it was
people.
more than one rock.
Yeah, okay. And so Mia pulled out a bunch of rocks that they picked up and was like, look at all these rocks. And out of the 9 people in the
I
room,
asked a question. I said, do you guys want to see the rocks around? People said yes.
And then out of like the 9 people in the room, like 6 of them all pulled out rocks. And one of them had a, shout out to Gabe, had a meteorite.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, that's a cool rock. So all the people who were rolling your eyes, we started talking about rocks. I bet you perked up when you heard meteorite. Meteorites.
Yeah, but you know
Pretty
that
cool.
someone listening to this is drawing the connection between being like anxious and stressed out by change and surprises and collecting rocks.
Cancers are what? Water sign?
Yeah. My cancer through and through. I recently had a meeting with my like creativity coach person, Sophia, and I showed her.
Wait, is that why you love to like leave like water glasses everywhere? Just for the record, Mia has 3 water glasses in front of them right here, 3 liquid containers in front of them right now.
First of all, I thought that was yours because it's on your saucer that you used.
That's your glass. I just put it over there.
Oh,
no,
okay.
That's yours from last night.
Okay, I didn't realize that. This is coffee. Okay, I've gotten a lot better at it. I have been much more mindful.
Saying you love to be surrounded by water.
I have to like trick myself into drinking water, so I leave it all over the house.
It'd be a cool feature to like somehow build like a water that could be
Sure.
around.
Yeah.
Water tank.
I recently showed Sophia the song that I've been working on, and this is my creativity coach, and she was like, as I listened to it, I remembered that you're a Cancer, because it was like the most offensive thing I've ever heard. I can't escape it. I'm literally holding a rock right now that you gave me from, where were you?
I was in the Inyo National Forest on the Ray Lakes Loop.
It's a very pretty rock.
It was by Charlotte Lake. This was like,
it looks like it might have had, I don't know what makes rocks green, I guess.
It's 9,000, 10,000 feet up. And it's an area with a lot of granite and these like big,
yeah, it looks like granite.
These big green veins that ran through parts of it. And this is a rock that's like entirely green.
And it glitters. Okay. Do you want to share that?
I don't know, do you have work to do today?
Okay, well, thanks, Andis.
Thank you, Mia.
I love you.
Thank you too.